Did you know that you may qualify for the EB2 National Interest Waiver and you may not even know it? So the question is, how do we know if you qualify? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about on this video, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about some of the misconceptions, some of the challenges of the National Interest Waiver that you may not be aware of. Hi, my name is Ranchod. I'm an immigration attorney, been practicing for over 22 years. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive into national interest waivers. So first of all, for those of you that are not aware of what is an NIW, what is a national interest waiver, what's the benefit? Well, what it does is it bypasses the labor certification requirement. So normally in many employment-based green card situations, you have to go through a labor certification process. And in that labor certification process, you have to demonstrate that there's no qualified U.S. workers that can fulfill this position. But with the national interest waiver, you got to skip that whole process. And that process can take a year and a half in its entirety to go through all of the different steps of the labor certification process. This waiver is available to individuals who are members of the professions holding advanced degrees or those with exceptional ability in the arts, sciences, or business, or if you have an advanced degree equivalent. First, I want to talk about some of the common misconceptions that are out there for the national interest waiver. One of the biggest misconceptions is that this is only for scientists or researchers or physicians. While the national interest waiver is often associated with researchers or scientists, it's not only for these professions. If you're in a field such as arts, business, or other professions, you might be able to qualify. Another big misconception is that there's a guaranteed approval just because you have an advanced degree. Just because you have a PhD or a master's degree does not mean that your case will be approved. And national interest waivers have been trending downwards in terms of approvals. So it is getting to be more difficult to get an approval than in the past. That may be for different reasons. One of them might be an increase in the use of AI and generic use of AI causing those increase in denials. The reason that an advanced degree is not enough is because you also have to demonstrate that what you're doing has substantial merit and is of national importance, among other criteria as well. Another big misconception is that you don't need evidence of national importance. Some people believe that just having a significant professional background is enough. However, you must also provide evidence that the proposed endeavor has national importance and that you are well positioned to advance it. One way to look at whether or not you're well positioned to advance it is looking at whether or not you have papers published, if you have significant awards, what's your track record in the field. Another misconception is that this is a quick and easy process. The NIW process can be complex and time consuming because of all of the different elements that you have to meet and how thorough you need to be in the application process. Although premium processing is available, if you're applying for the green card, the one step at the same time, that could add to a lengthy amount of time. Now, this is a big misconception, and the misconception here is that it is equivalent to the EB1 category. It has distinct, unique requirements than the EB1 category, and it's also in the EB2 preference category. So that's important to note if you're from a country such as India or China, because if you're applying under EB2, your priority date may not be current, although it still could be advantageous for you to apply for an NIW. For instance, it could allow you to extend your H-1B, despite the fact that your priority date is not current if you're in H-1B status. Another big misconception is that there's no need for legal assistance. While it is possible to self-petition, navigating the national interest waiver process can be challenging without in-depth legal knowledge, especially in preparing a strong case that meets all of the national interest waiver criteria, including national importance, which is one of the most difficult criteria to meet. Now you might be wondering, okay, should I apply for the national interest waiver? What are some common challenges? Well, now we're going to explore some common challenges with the national interest waiver application. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most challenging is demonstrating national importance. The reason is that you have to convince and show that your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance. So it's both, not just national importance, but it also has substantial merit. In order to demonstrate this, your case needs to be well documented, and it needs to show that what you're doing is not just affecting your local local state, but it is also affecting the nation as a whole. Another area where I see a gap in applications is proving that you are well positioned to advance the endeavor. This involves evidence of providing past achievements, expertise, and I also like to show how you're going to have a clear plan for future contributions. When applying for a national interest waiver, there is always a risk of denial or getting a notice of intent to deny or a request for evidence. So with the request for evidence or a notice of intent to deny, they could come back and ask for more documentation, for instance, supporting your assertion that you have national importance or that you are well proposed for the endeavor, and you want to be prepared to address any of these requests. These challenges highlight some of the complexities of the national interest waiver and why you may want to consider discussing this with an attorney before you embark on the national interest waiver process. Now let's look at some of the eligibility requirements for the national interest waiver. We've talked about this in some of the misconceptions, but we're going to outline it here succinctly. So as we discussed earlier, you have to demonstrate that what you're doing has substantial merit and is of national importance, that the applicant is well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor, and that on balance it would be beneficial to the United States to waive the job offer and labor certification requirements. Now you might be wondering, what are some examples of work that may be considered in the national interest? That could be STEM research and innovation, for instance, engaging in research or projects in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, basically STEM fields that are critical to U.S. competitiveness and innovation, particularly in emerging technologies. So an example of this, what's hot right now, is AI, of course. Another one is also water conservation, which is another area, environmental and energy projects. This involves initiatives aimed at improving environmental sustainability, energy efficiency, or developing renewable energy sources that have substantial merit and national importance. So when you're looking at renewable energy, for instance, that's going to be something that makes the United States more sustainable, not rely on oil, and that can be used as an argument that this is not something that is just unique to the state, but will impact the whole country. Public health and safety, where contributions to public health initiatives, disease prevention, or safety measures that have a broad impact on the well-being of the U.S. population. Education and training is another area. Here, developing educational programs or training that address critical skill gaps in the U.S. workforce, particularly in high-demand fields. And then entrepreneurship and job creation, where establishing or owning a business that provides for jobs, U.S. workers, especially if the business contributes to economic growth or addresses a significant need in the market that affects the nation as a whole. So I'd like to get your thoughts about the NIW. Put your comments below. Please share your experiences, and I invite you to watch our next video. By watching this video, you're bettering yourself. By bettering yourself, you're bettering your family. And by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. Thank you. Bye for now.